People often say that when you're poor, no one wants to stand by your side. But there's an even harsher truth. Sometimes, the ones who push you to rock bottom are the very people you once called family. That rainy night, he was thrown out of his own home, not because he lacked love, loyalty, or character, but because he wasn't wealthy enough to deserve the woman he loved. No one defended him. No one asked him to stay. But 5 years later, fate turned the tables in a way no one could have imagined. The very people who looked down on him found themselves standing before him, asking for his help. What happened during those 5 years? And when the moment of reckoning finally came, would he choose revenge, or a kindness so powerful that it would leave them carrying regret for the rest of their lives? This is where the story begins. The people who throw you out of a house rarely imagine they might one day stand at your door instead. Rain hammered against the windows with steady determination, turning the quiet suburban street into a blur of silver beneath the glow of streetlights. Inside the spacious family home, warm lights spilled across polished hardwood floors, expensive furniture, and carefully framed family photographs that covered the walls with memories built over decades. Yet beneath the appearance of comfort, the atmosphere had become painfully cold. Nathan Brooks stood quietly near the front entrance, his black duffel bag resting beside his polished shoes. At 40 years old, he carried himself with the calm confidence of a man who refused to let anger decide his next step. His thick black hair remained neatly combed despite the tension surrounding him, and his strong angular face revealed neither resentment nor fear. He wore a simple dark jacket over a white dress shirt, the sleeves rolled neatly to his wrists after spending the afternoon helping repair a broken fence in the backyard. Across the living room, Olivia stood frozen between the two people she loved most and the man she had promised to spend her life with. Her elegant chestnut blonde hair was gathered into a graceful bun, but her beautiful face now reflected confusion, heartbreak, and quiet panic. She wanted to speak. She wanted to stop everything unfolding before her eyes. Yet every time she opened her mouth, the silence inside the room seemed to grow heavier. Her father folded his arms with unmistakable disappointment. "Nathan," he said firmly, "this family has been patient long enough." Nathan met his gaze without hostility. "I understand how you feel." The older man shook his head. "No, you do not. My daughter deserves stability. She deserves someone who can give her the life we imagined." Nathan remained still. "I have always tried to give her my best." "Your best is not enough," her father replied. The words lingered in the room long after they were spoken. Olivia quietly whispered, "Dad, please." Her mother gently touched her arm, encouraging her to stay back. "Sweetheart," she said softly, "we only want what is best for you." Nathan looked toward Olivia, not with disappointment, but with compassion. He knew the impossible position she had been placed in for months. Ever since he and Olivia married, he had done everything possible to become part of her family. He repaired broken appliances without being asked. He spent weekends helping maintain the house. He drove her parents to medical appointments whenever they needed transportation. Every birthday, every holiday, every family gathering, he arrived early and stayed late, quietly helping while expecting nothing in return. Yet every act of kindness seemed invisible beside one fact they could never overlook. His modest salary did not match the expectations they had created for the man who married their daughter. Promotions came slowly. Luxury vacations never happened. Designer cars never appeared in the driveway. To them, effort without visible wealth looked too much like failure. Nathan never argued. He believed time revealed character more clearly than words ever could. Tonight, however, time had brought them to a different ending than he had hoped. Olivia finally stepped forward, tears filling her eyes. "Nathan," she whispered, "please say something." He smiled gently, the same reassuring smile that had comforted her through difficult days since they first met years earlier. "There are moments when speaking only creates more pain," he answered quietly. Her father walked toward the front door and opened it. Cool rain scented the evening air as water splashed across the front porch beneath the porch light. "I think it is time," he said. Nathan reached down, lifted his duffel bag, and slowly placed one hand on the wedding ring still resting comfortably against his finger. He looked around the home one final time. Family photographs, holiday decorations, the hallway where laughter had once echoed after Thanksgiving dinners, the kitchen where he and Olivia had shared late-night coffee while dreaming about the future. None of those memories belonged to anger. They belonged to love. He turned toward Olivia once more. She stood trembling, unable to move, unable to stop him, unable to forgive herself for remaining silent. Nathan gave her one final peaceful smile. "Take care of yourself," he said gently. Then, without another word, he stepped into the rain, closed the front door behind him with quiet respect, and disappeared into the storm carrying nothing except a single duffel bag. While inside the house, no one realized they had just watched the best man among them quietly walk away. Rain continued falling long after Nathan disappeared beyond the streetlights, each step carrying him farther from the house, where he had invested years of quiet devotion. The cold evening air wrapped around him as he walked with his duffel bag resting comfortably over one shoulder, never looking back a second time. Cars passed along the wet suburban streets, their headlights briefly illuminating his calm expression before fading into the darkness. He had entered that home believing love could overcome almost anything. He left understanding that some people measured a person's value long before they ever discovered the person's character. Still, bitterness never found a place in his heart. By the time he reached a nearby bus stop, his clothes were damp from the steady rain, but his posture remained straight. He sat alone beneath the small shelter, listening to water strike the metal roof while memories quietly unfolded inside his mind. He remembered the first Thanksgiving after marrying Olivia, when he had arrived before sunrise to help prepare the family meal because her father had injured his shoulder. He spent hours lifting heavy boxes, assembling tables, and fixing broken kitchen cabinets without anyone asking. When dinner finally began, relatives complimented the beautiful home, the decorations, and the meal, yet no one noticed the man who had quietly made the day easier for everyone else. Nathan never expected recognition. Seeing the family enjoy the holiday had been enough. Another memory surfaced. During one unusually cold winter, Olivia's mother had struggled with an aging furnace that stopped working overnight. Nathan drove across town before dawn carrying borrowed tools and spent nearly 4 hours repairing the heating system. By the time the house became warm again, he was late for work. Instead of thanking him, Olivia's father only remarked that a truly successful man would have hired a professional immediately. Nathan simply smiled and left for the office without defending himself. There had been countless moments like that. When the family car broke down on a busy highway, Nathan left an important meeting to help. When Olivia's younger cousin needed advice preparing for college interviews, Nathan spent every Saturday afternoon practicing with him. When birthdays arrived, Nathan never purchased extravagant gifts, but he always remembered every family member's favorite dessert and quietly made certain they felt celebrated. None of those efforts changed the opinion her parents had already formed. To them, financial success remained the only language worth listening to. Several weeks after the wedding, Olivia had once apologized through tears for her parents' constant criticism. Nathan gently held her hands and smiled. "People are allowed to need time," he had told her. "I will keep showing them who I am." She believed him because he truly meant it. Nathan never viewed kindness as a strategy. It was simply the way he chose to live. Back at the bus stop, the city bus finally arrived with its bright interior lights cutting through the rain. Nathan boarded quietly and took a seat beside the window. As neighborhoods slowly passed outside, he stared at the reflections moving across the wet glass instead of the familiar streets disappearing behind him. He thought about Olivia more than anyone else. He knew she had been trapped between loyalty to her husband and loyalty to the parents who had raised her. He did not blame her for freezing beneath impossible pressure, although part of him quietly wished she had found the courage to speak before the front door closed. Inside the family home, silence settled over every room after Nathan left. Olivia remained standing near the entrance long after the rain had hidden him from view. Her wedding ring suddenly felt heavier than it ever had before. She slowly walked toward the front window, hoping she might still catch one last glimpse of him beneath the streetlights, but the empty sidewalk reflected only rain. Her father believed he had protected his daughter from years of disappointment. Her mother quietly convinced herself difficult decisions often required painful sacrifices. Neither noticed that the warmth Nathan had quietly brought into their home had disappeared the moment he walked out the front door. Upstairs, Olivia sat alone on the edge of their bedroom, staring at the neatly folded sweater Nathan had left behind on a chair. She gently picked it up, holding it close as tears finally rolled down her face. For the first time since their marriage began, the house felt larger, quieter, and strangely unfamiliar. Somewhere beyond the rain, Nathan was beginning a completely different chapter of his life. Inside that house, no one yet understood they had not removed the source of their disappointment. They had unknowingly said goodbye to the one person who had always placed their happiness before his own. The following morning arrived with clear skies and quiet sunlight, as though the storm from the night before had carried away more than rain. Nathan rented a modest one-bedroom apartment above a small neighborhood bookstore on the edge of the city. The space was simple. A wooden table stood beside a single window overlooking busy sidewalks. A second-hand sofa rested against one wall, and a small coffee maker hummed gently each morning before sunrise. There were no expensive decorations, no luxurious comforts, and no audience to witness the beginning of his new life. Yet for the first time in many months, every decision belonged entirely to him. He unpacked his duffel bag, carefully folded the same white dress shirt he had worn when leaving Olivia's family home, and placed his wedding photograph inside a drawer rather than throwing it away. He was not trying to erase his past. He simply understood that healing required space before memories could become peaceful again. Every weekday, Nathan woke before 6 o'clock, prepared a simple breakfast, and traveled across the city to a small technology consulting company where he accepted an entry-level position despite having greater experience than most of his co-workers. He never complained about starting over. He believed every opportunity deserved complete effort regardless of the title printed on a business card. His supervisors quickly noticed that Nathan solved difficult problems without seeking attention and often stayed late helping younger employees understand projects that were not even his responsibility. Within months, clients began requesting him by name because they trusted not only his technical knowledge, but also his honesty. Nathan discovered something unexpected. The qualities that had gone unnoticed inside one family became deeply valued inside another environment. Back at Olivia's family home, life continued outwardly as though little had changed. Her parents remained convinced they had protected their daughter from years of financial uncertainty. They encouraged Olivia to move forward, meet more successful people, and stop dwelling on a marriage they considered a mistake. Olivia tried to follow their advice, yet every ordinary moment reminded her of Nathan. The kitchen faucet began leaking, and no one quietly repaired it before breakfast. Heavy grocery bags remained inside the car until someone remembered to carry them in. Her father's medical appointments suddenly became inconvenient because Nathan had always adjusted his work schedule without being asked. Small inconveniences slowly revealed the countless invisible ways he had cared for everyone around him. One evening, Olivia opened an old kitchen drawer searching for batteries and discovered a small notebook in Nathan's handwriting. Inside were maintenance schedules for household appliances, reminders about her mother's medications, emergency phone numbers, and birthdays for every member of her extended family. On the final page, one sentence had been written months earlier. Taking care of people is easier when they never have to ask. Olivia gently closed the notebook as tears quietly gathered in her eyes. She realized Nathan had spent years making life easier for people who rarely noticed his efforts. Meanwhile, Nathan continued building a different future one quiet day at a time. Instead of spending evenings dwelling on rejection, he enrolled in advanced business and finance courses offered through a respected university extension program. He studied after work until midnight, often surrounded by stacks of textbooks and handwritten notes spread across the small wooden table inside his apartment. Weekends became opportunities to attend professional seminars, volunteer mentoring programs, and networking events where experienced entrepreneurs freely exchanged ideas with young professionals willing to learn. Nathan listened far more than he spoke. He understood that knowledge accumulated patiently often became more valuable than quick success. His steady work ethic eventually caught the attention of a senior executive who admired not only Nathan's intelligence, but also the unusual humility with which he approached every challenge. One afternoon, the executive invited Nathan into his office after a successful client presentation. "You have something that cannot be taught," he said thoughtfully. "People trust you before they understand why." Nathan smiled modestly. "Trust, is usually built one conversation at a time. The executive nodded. Exactly. And I believe you are ready for opportunities much larger than this company can offer. As Nathan walked home beneath the golden light of another peaceful sunset, he carried nothing except a notebook filled with new ideas and quiet determination. Far behind him remained a house where people had measured his future using only his present circumstances. Ahead of him waited possibilities that none of them had imagined, including Nathan himself. 5 years passed with surprising quietness. Seasons came and went, businesses opened and closed, neighborhoods changed, and the city continued moving forward one sunrise at a time. Nathan rarely thought about the night he left Olivia's family home because his days had become too full to leave much room for regret. The opportunities that once seemed impossibly distant gradually became ordinary parts of his life. The senior executive who had recognized Nathan's potential introduced him to respected investors who valued integrity as much as intelligence. One successful project led to another. Small consulting assignments grew into major corporate partnerships. Years of disciplined work, thoughtful leadership, and honest relationships slowly became the foundation of an investment firm known for rescuing struggling companies rather than dismantling them. Nathan accepted every achievement with the same humility that had followed him since the beginning. His office overlooked the downtown skyline, but the framed photographs decorating the shelves were not awards or magazine covers. They showed employees celebrating promotions, scholarship recipients graduating from college, and community projects completed through the company's charitable foundation. Visitors often expected to meet an executive driven by prestige. Instead, they found a calm man who still arrived before most employees, greeted the receptionist by name every morning, and believed leadership began by listening before speaking. Across town, life inside Olivia's family had taken a very different direction. Her father's manufacturing company, once considered one of the strongest regional suppliers, had expanded too aggressively after several profitable years. Confident that success would continue indefinitely, he approved expensive acquisitions, borrowed heavily to finance new facilities, and ignored repeated warnings from financial advisors encouraging slower growth. When the economy unexpectedly weakened, major contracts disappeared within months. Warehouses filled with unsold inventory while monthly loan payments continued growing. Long-trusted customers reduced orders. Cash reserves vanished faster than anyone expected. Employees who had worked there for decades quietly wondered whether they would still have jobs before the end of the year. Olivia had joined the company after her marriage ended, hoping she could help stabilize the business. Intelligent and hardworking, she spent countless evenings reviewing budgets, meeting with accountants, and searching for practical solutions. Yet every report painted the same troubling picture. Costs continued rising while revenue continued falling. She watched her father age noticeably under constant pressure. The confidence that had once filled every room gradually gave way to sleepless nights and difficult conversations behind closed office doors. Her mother tried to remain optimistic, preparing family dinners where almost nobody had an appetite. One rainy afternoon, Olivia opened an old storage cabinet searching for archived financial records and discovered another box filled with family photographs. Hidden between albums rested a faded picture from the first year of her marriage. Nathan stood beside her father in the backyard, both smiling after finishing a weekend repair project together. Looking at the photograph, Olivia remembered how naturally Nathan had celebrated everyone else's happiness without asking for anything in return. She quietly wondered how different life might have become if she had walked through the front door with him instead of remaining inside that night. Meanwhile, pressure inside the company reached a breaking point. The bank declined another request to restructure existing loans. 2 potential investors withdrew after reviewing the financial statements. The board of directors held emergency meetings that produced concern instead of solutions. Finally, an experienced restructuring consultant carefully closed his presentation folder and spoke with measured confidence. "There is still one possibility," he said. Every executive looked toward him. "There is an investment group that specializes in rebuilding companies facing situations exactly like yours. They have saved businesses that everyone else had already given up on." Olivia's father leaned forward immediately. "Who leads the firm?" The consultant smiled slightly. "The chairman rarely appears in public interviews, but his reputation is exceptional. He is known for making decisions based on long-term character rather than short-term numbers. If anyone can preserve this company and protect your employees, it is him. Hope quietly returned to the conference room for the first time in months. A meeting request was submitted that same afternoon. 3 days later, an elegant envelope arrived confirming an appointment at the investment firm's headquarters the following week. None of them noticed the signature at the bottom of the confirmation letter. None of them imagined that the man holding the future of their company had once stood silently inside their own living room, carrying nothing except a single duffel bag. Monday morning arrived beneath clear autumn skies as Olivia and her parents drove through the financial district toward one of the tallest office towers in the city. None of them spoke very much during the drive. Thick folders containing financial statements, restructuring proposals, and 5-year forecasts rested neatly inside leather briefcases on the back seat. Every document represented another attempt to save the company that had supported hundreds of families for more than 3 decades. Olivia quietly watched the skyline grow larger through the passenger window. The investment firm occupying the upper floors of the glass tower had earned a remarkable reputation throughout the business community. Companies on the edge of collapse often found a second chance there, not because the firm made reckless investments, but because its chairman carefully chose businesses led by people willing to rebuild with honesty and discipline. Very few photographs of the chairman existed online. Interviews were almost non-existent. His name appeared frequently in financial publications, yet his personal life remained almost entirely private. That mystery only added to the firm's reputation. When they entered the spacious marble lobby, everything reflected quiet confidence rather than unnecessary luxury. Natural light poured through enormous windows. Modern artwork decorated the walls. Employees greeted visitors with calm professionalism instead of hurried formality. Olivia noticed something unexpected. Despite occupying one of the city's most prestigious buildings, the atmosphere felt surprisingly welcoming. The receptionist smiled warmly after confirming their appointment. "Good morning. The chairman is finishing another meeting. Please make yourselves comfortable. Someone will escort you upstairs shortly." Olivia's father nodded politely before taking a seat. His confidence from years earlier had disappeared, replaced by the visible weight of responsibility. Every passing minute reminded him that hundreds of employees depended upon the outcome of the meeting ahead. Nearby, Olivia quietly studied framed photographs displayed throughout the reception area. Instead of celebrating financial awards, many pictures showed factory workers, teachers, firefighters, nurses, small business owners, and community volunteers standing beside members of the investment firm. Beneath each photograph appeared short descriptions about businesses that had survived difficult times and continued providing jobs because someone had believed they deserved another opportunity. Olivia slowly smiled. Whoever led this company clearly measured success differently than most executives. Upstairs, several floors above the lobby, Nathan stood inside his office overlooking the city he had gradually learned to call home again. His premium black tailored suit fit perfectly, his white dress shirt remained crisp, and his dark tie reflected the same understated professionalism that defined every decision he made. His thick black hair was neatly combed to one side, and the calm expression that had once carried him through painful rejection had only grown steadier with time. He quietly reviewed the final report prepared by his analysts. The struggling manufacturing company requesting assistance showed real potential despite years of poor financial decisions. Strong employees, valuable products, loyal customers, weak leadership. Nathan closed the report and looked toward the skyline for a brief moment. He had recognized the company name the instant the meeting request arrived several days earlier. He also recognized the signatures attached to the documents. Time had quietly completed a circle neither side could have imagined 5 years before. Yet as he prepared for the meeting, revenge never entered his thoughts. His concern centered entirely upon the employees whose livelihoods depended on the decisions waiting inside the conference room. His executive assistant gently knocked before entering. "Good morning, Mr. Brooks. Our guests have arrived." Nathan smiled appreciatively. "Thank you. Please make sure they are comfortable. I will join them shortly." Downstairs, an elevator quietly carried Olivia and her parents toward the executive floor. The doors opened to reveal a spacious reception area decorated with warm wood, soft lighting, and panoramic views stretching across the entire city. A conference room with floor-to-ceiling glass walls overlooked the skyline, while fresh coffee and neatly arranged documents waited on the polished table inside. Olivia's father adjusted his jacket nervously. Her mother folded her hands together, whispering a quiet hope that this meeting might somehow save the company. Olivia glanced toward the closed conference room doors, feeling an unexpected sense of familiarity she could not explain. Moments later, senior executives from the investment firm entered and greeted them with professional courtesy before taking their seats. One executive smiled warmly. "Our chairman will be joining us in just a moment. Final decisions are always made personally." The room settled into complete silence. Then the conference room doors slowly opened. Every executive already seated around the table immediately rose to their feet with unmistakable respect. Olivia and her parents instinctively stood as well, turning toward the entrance just as a familiar figure wearing a perfectly tailored black suit stepped calmly into the room. For one suspended moment, nobody inside the conference room moved. Olivia stared toward the doorway as though time itself had stopped. The man who entered carried the same calm posture she remembered from years earlier, yet everything else reflected the quiet confidence earned through perseverance. Nathan walked into the room wearing a perfectly tailored black suit, a crisp white dress shirt, and a dark tie. His thick black hair was neatly combed to one side. His strong, angular face remained composed, and his steady eyes revealed neither triumph nor resentment. Around the conference table, senior executives greeted him with genuine respect. "Good morning, Mr. Brooks," one vice president said warmly. "Good morning," Nathan replied with a polite smile before shaking hands with each member of his leadership team. Only after greeting his colleagues did he turn toward Olivia and her parents. His expression remained kind, almost identical to the man who had quietly carried a single duffel bag into the rain 5 years earlier. "Good morning," he said gently. Olivia could barely find her voice. "Nathan." It was the first time she had spoken his name aloud in years. Her father stood motionless beside his chair, every confident speech he had rehearsed during the drive suddenly disappearing. Her mother lowered her eyes toward the conference table, unable to hide the shock spreading across her face. Nathan offered each of them a courteous nod before taking his seat at the head of the table. "Please," he said calmly. "Everyone have a seat." One by one they sat down. The silence felt heavier than any conversation. Nathan opened the financial report resting before him and glanced thoughtfully across several pages. "I appreciate all of you coming today," he began in the same measured voice that had always defined him. "My team has carefully reviewed your company over the past several days." Olivia watched him speak with complete professionalism. There was no trace of bitterness, no subtle attempt to embarrass anyone. He discussed production capacity, employee retention, customer loyalty, debt structure, and operational efficiency with remarkable precision. The executives beside him contributed additional observations while charts appeared on the large presentation screen. Nathan listened carefully to every recommendation before asking thoughtful questions that revealed an extraordinary understanding of the business. Olivia realized she was watching the same man who had once quietly repaired leaking faucets and organized family schedules. The difference was not who Nathan had become. The difference was finally seeing the full extent of the abilities he had always possessed. After nearly 30 minutes of discussion, Nathan gently closed the report. "Your company still has exceptional people," he said. "Your products remain respected. Your customers still trust the quality you deliver. Those strengths are worth protecting." Olivia's father slowly looked up, hope cautiously returning to his tired expression. "Then you believe the company can survive?" Nathan answered honestly. "Yes, but only if difficult decisions are made with discipline instead of pride." Those words settled across the room with quiet significance. Olivia immediately remembered another sentence Nathan had once spoken years earlier. "People are allowed to need time." She suddenly understood he had lived by those beliefs even when nobody else had recognized them. One of Nathan's senior partners quietly placed a restructuring proposal on the conference table. "Our firm is prepared to provide financial support," he explained, "provided that governance reforms and long-term operational improvements are fully implemented." Olivia's father looked toward Nathan again, his voice noticeably softer than it had ever been before. "You are willing to help us?" Nathan met his eyes calmly. "I am willing to help preserve a company that provides honest work for hundreds of families." Those employees should not lose everything because leadership made mistakes. No accusation followed. No reminder of the night he had been forced to leave their home. Only concern for people who depended upon the business. Olivia felt tears quietly gather as she listened. She had expected anger if she ever saw Nathan again. Instead, she found compassion stronger than anything she had imagined. Her father slowly removed his glasses and rested them on the table. The proud businessman who had once judged Nathan entirely by his paycheck now struggled to look directly at the man sitting across from him. Every assumption he had carried for years had quietly collapsed inside a single meeting. Nathan noticed the silence, but never tried to fill it with superiority. He simply folded his hands together and waited patiently, giving everyone in the room the dignity of deciding what they wished to say next. Silence remained in the conference room long after Nathan finished speaking. The panoramic windows overlooked a city alive with movement. Yet inside the executive boardroom, every person seemed frozen by thoughts far heavier than financial reports or investment proposals. Nathan calmly reviewed another page of notes while giving Olivia and her parents the time they needed to collect themselves. He had learned years earlier that some conversations could never be rushed. They required honesty, more than speed. Olivia slowly folded her hands together on the conference table, her eyes never leaving the man she had once watched disappear into the rain, carrying only a single duffel bag. 5 years had changed his circumstances beyond imagination, but they had not changed the kindness that had always lived quietly inside him. That realization hurt more than any accusation ever could. Her father finally cleared his throat. The confident businessman who had spent decades negotiating contracts now struggled to form a single sentence. Nathan, he began quietly before stopping again. The room remained patient. Nathan looked at him with calm attention, neither encouraging nor discouraging what came next. After a long breath, the older man spoke again. "There is something I should have said years ago." His voice carried none of the certainty it once possessed. "When you married my daughter, I believed I understood what success looked like. I judged you by your salary, your position, and everything you had not yet achieved. I never stopped long enough to see the man standing in front of me." Nathan remained silent, allowing every word to be spoken without interruption. Olivia lowered her eyes as her father continued. "You fixed things around our home. You drove us to appointments. You made holidays easier. You took care of our family, even when we never truly welcomed you into it." He paused again, visibly struggling with memories that had become impossible to ignore. "I mistook humility for weakness. I confused quietness with a lack of ambition. I was wrong." The room grew completely still. Nathan's senior executives respectfully looked away, understanding they were witnessing something much deeper than a business negotiation. Olivia's mother quietly wiped a tear from her cheek before speaking for the first time since the meeting began. "Nathan, I watched you put everyone else first over and over again. I told myself we only wanted the best for our daughter, but the truth is we never gave you the chance you deserved." Her voice trembled softly. "For that, I am deeply sorry." Olivia finally lifted her eyes toward Nathan. The emotion she had carried for 5 years could no longer remain hidden. "I owe you an apology more than anyone." Her words came slowly, each one weighed down by memory. "That night, I should have walked out that front door with you. I should have defended the man I promised to stand beside. Instead, I stood there and let fear make the decision for me." Tears quietly rolled down her face, but she made no attempt to hide them. "I have replayed that night more times than I can count. Every single time I wish I had taken one step toward you instead of standing still." Nathan listened with the same compassion he had always shown. There was no satisfaction in seeing regret, only understanding. After a gentle pause, he finally spoke. "Life places all of us in moments we wish we could live differently. Regret can teach us something valuable, but only if we allow it to change who we become instead of trapping who we were." Olivia nodded slowly, knowing those words carried no hidden judgment. Her father looked directly at Nathan again. "We came here hoping you might save our company. Now I realize we first need to ask whether you can forgive us." Nathan rested his hands together on the conference table before answering. Forgiveness happened a long time ago. The simple sentence seemed almost impossible for them to believe. He smiled gently. "Holding on to resentment would have required me to carry the past everywhere I went. I chose to build a future instead." No one spoke for several moments. The burden that had followed every member of Olivia's family into the conference room slowly began to lift, replaced not by relief alone, but by a deeper understanding of the kind of man they had once measured so poorly. Nathan glanced once more toward the financial reports waiting on the table before looking back at the three familiar faces across from him. "Now," he said with quiet professionalism, "let us talk about how we protect the people whose families depend on this company, because they deserve every opportunity to build a better tomorrow." The atmosphere inside the conference room gradually shifted from painful reflection to careful determination. Nathan looked around the polished table, meeting the eyes of every executive, every board member, and finally Olivia and her parents. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, sunlight reflected across the glass towers of downtown, reminding everyone that another business day continued beyond the walls of the room. Hundreds of employees had already begun their morning shifts without knowing that the future of their company was being decided only a few stories above them. Nathan gently opened a new folder containing the proposed restructuring agreement prepared by his legal and financial teams. "Our firm is prepared to move forward," he said calmly. "However, investment alone will not solve the problems your company faces." Olivia's father nodded immediately. "We understand." Nathan continued with the same composed voice. "Poor decisions created this situation. Better decisions must build the future. That process requires more than money. It requires a different culture." Every person at the table listened carefully. Nathan slowly slid several pages across the conference table. "The financial package will provide immediate operating capital, restructure existing debt, modernize production facilities, and protect current employee salaries during the transition period." Relief quietly appeared across several faces. Before anyone could celebrate, Nathan added another sentence. "But there is one condition that matters more than every financial number inside this agreement." The room became completely silent again. Olivia watched him with quiet curiosity. She knew Nathan well enough to understand he was not interested in revenge, yet she also knew he believed deeply in accountability. Nathan folded his hands together before speaking. "From this day forward, every employee inside your company must be treated with dignity regardless of position, salary, education, or background." His words were calm, yet they carried unmistakable conviction. No supervisor will measure a person's worth only by income. No manager will ignore honest effort because someone has not yet achieved visible success. Promotions will be based upon character, performance, and leadership. Respect will become part of the company's culture, not simply a sentence inside an employee handbook. Olivia's father lowered his eyes, immediately recognizing the deeper meaning behind those conditions. Nathan never mentioned the night he had been asked to leave their home. He never referred to old arguments or painful memories. Instead, he transformed his own experience into a lesson capable of protecting countless other people from being judged unfairly. One senior executive from Nathan's firm smiled with quiet admiration. He had helped draft the agreement, but now understood why the chairman insisted those principles be included alongside the financial terms. Nathan was not merely investing in equipment or balance sheets. He was investing in people. Olivia slowly reached for the agreement and carefully read each page. Beyond the financial restructuring, she found employee scholarship programs, leadership mentoring, expanded healthcare benefits, professional development opportunities, and community partnerships designed to strengthen the entire organization for decades to come. She quietly looked toward Nathan. "You thought about every family working there." Nathan answered with a gentle smile. "A business is never only buildings and machines. Every paycheck supports parents, children, grandparents, and dreams that deserve protection." Her mother wiped another tear from her cheek. For years, she had believed wealth changed people. Sitting across from Nathan, she finally understood that true character simply gave kindness greater opportunities to grow. Olivia's father slowly stood from his chair. He extended his hand across the conference table, but before speaking, he paused for a moment as emotion overtook his carefully prepared composure. "Thank you," he said quietly. "Not because you were saving our company. Thank you because you became the man we should have recognized years ago." Nathan rose as well and accepted the handshake with genuine warmth. "People are more than the worst day of their lives," he replied softly. "All of us deserve the chance to become wiser than we once were." One by one the agreements were signed. Attorneys exchanged documents. Executives confirmed implementation schedules. Yet none of those official actions became the true turning point of the meeting. The real transformation happened silently as pride gave way to humility and judgment gave way to understanding. Olivia looked around the conference room and realized the greatest investment Nathan had made that morning could never appear on any financial statement. He had restored hope without demanding humiliation in return. He had protected hundreds of families while quietly teaching one family the value of seeing people for who they truly were instead of what they temporarily possessed. Late afternoon sunlight stretched across the glass walls of the executive floor as the meeting finally came to an end. One by one, executives gathered their documents, exchanged respectful handshakes, and quietly left the conference room. The legal agreements had been signed, implementation schedules confirmed, and a new chapter had begun not only for the struggling company, but also for every family whose future depended upon it. Through the panoramic windows, the city continued moving with its familiar rhythm. Office workers hurried along crowded sidewalks below. Traffic flowed steadily between towering buildings, and construction cranes reached toward the clear blue sky. Life outside remained wonderfully ordinary, even though the lives of everyone inside the conference room had changed forever. Nathan slowly closed the final folder and thanked each member of his leadership team before they departed. As always, he paused to shake hands with every assistant, analyst, and coordinator who had helped prepare the meeting. Titles never determined the respect he offered people. Character always did. Within minutes, only Nathan, Olivia, and her parents remained inside the quiet room. None of them seemed eager to leave just yet. The silence no longer felt uncomfortable. Instead, it carried the peaceful weight of truths that had finally been spoken aloud. Olivia's father carefully looked around the elegant conference room before turning back toward Nathan. 5 years ago, he said quietly, I believed success meant having the biggest house, the strongest income, and the highest position. Today I walked into this building expecting to meet an extraordinary businessman. Instead, I met an extraordinary human being. Nathan smiled with gentle humility. Business changes with every generation. Character has to last much longer than that. The older man slowly nodded, allowing those words to settle in his heart. Olivia's mother stepped closer, her eyes filled not with sadness this time, but with gratitude. Thank you for choosing compassion when you had every reason to choose resentment. Nathan answered softly. Compassion always builds a better future than resentment ever could. Olivia remained quietly standing beside the conference table, watching the man she once loved reveal the same quiet strength that had always existed beneath the surface. Success had not transformed him into someone greater. It had simply given the world more opportunities to notice who he had always been. She took one careful step toward him. Nathan, she said gently, I cannot change the decision I made that night. He met her eyes with calm understanding. No one can change yesterday. She continued with quiet honesty. But I will spend the rest of my life remembering what it taught me. I finally understand that the richest person in a room is not always the one with the most money. Sometimes it is the one with the strongest heart. Nathan smiled warmly. Then perhaps something good came from all of this after all. There was no dramatic farewell. No promises about the future. No attempt to rewrite the past. Some stories did not need perfect endings to leave lasting peace behind. Nathan simply extended his hand. Olivia accepted it with quiet gratitude, understanding that forgiveness had already been given long before either of them entered the building that morning. After a brief handshake, Nathan picked up his notebook and neatly folded jacket before walking toward the conference room doors. As they opened, employees throughout the executive floor greeted him with sincere respect. He responded to every greeting by name, thanking people for their work, asking about their families, and encouraging younger staff members preparing for important projects later that week. Olivia watched every interaction in thoughtful silence. The greatest measure of Nathan's success was not the office he occupied or the company he had built. It was the simple fact that everyone around him genuinely respected the way he treated people. Standing beside the windows, her parents quietly watched him disappear down the hallway until the elevator doors gently closed behind him. No one spoke for several moments. Finally, Olivia's father smiled with peaceful acceptance. The night we asked him to leave our home, he said softly, I believed I was protecting my family. I never realized my family was losing the very man who understood what family truly meant. Outside, Nathan stepped into the warm afternoon sunlight and continued walking through the city with the same calm confidence he had carried on the rainy evening years before. The difference was never the size of his office, the value of his company, or the respect others offered him. The difference was that time had finally revealed what character had quietly been saying all along. Some people build success to impress the world. Others build character that quietly changes it. And in the end, character is always the legacy people remember long after every door has opened and every storm has passed. In the end, the true winner isn't the one with the most money. It's the one who never loses their kindness. Thank you for watching, and remember, character will always outlast success.